My name is Ellie, and I run the EloEllie nonprofit organization. And today, we need to ask the question, what is the United States Sustainable Development Goals? And the answer is simple. The SDG goals are goals set together by all the different countries as a part of the UN to pursue for peace and prosperity in the future. And these goals pursue to make sure that we get rid of things like climate change, gender inequality, and the lack of equality for everyone as a whole. So today, what we're going to go over on May 29th in today's EloEllie/SDG UN Book Club is goal number 13 and goal number 15, climate action and life on land. But in order to understand these goals, we first need to understand what climate change actually is and why it happens. Climate change happens on our green little Earth because of pollution. When humans leave their carbon footprint with things like cars, factories, and even these technological devices, we give a little bit of carbon dioxide into the actual environment. And as a byproduct of our agriculture and our different industries in the world, every single step that we take, we're harming the environment little by little. But that doesn't mean that the only solution to climate change is erasure of humans, because, well, we're not a movie. The easiest solution to actually helping climate change is for everyone to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Now, you've probably heard of this ever since you were in kindergarten. And although it sounds a little bit childish, the 3 R's, they are true. In order to help preserve our environment, we need to make sure that we reuse our plastic water bottles, our resources, because the more that we actually throw away into the environment, things like plastic don't actually disintegrate until tens of thousands of years later. And we also need to reduce the amount of plastic and amount of resources that we're actually using. So if you're running the water in the shower for maybe a little bit too long, maybe turn it off while you're washing your body. And don't leave it on for extended periods of time. Because remember, things like water are limited resources. And once we use them all, we can't really reproduce them anytime soon. Reduce, reuse, and lastly, recycle. If you see those little blue trash cans all over your school campus or even at your workplace, it means that you need to recycle your plastic. Plastic is one of the leading causes of climate change all around the world. Because like I said before, it doesn't actually disintegrate into our environment. It is synthetically produced, meaning that humans, we produce it every single day to package our products, to give your Starbucks cup. But at the end of the day, the byproduct of that plastic is hurting animals in the ocean, turning into small little microparticles, and eventually making it back into humans. Because if our fish eat the microplastic that are stuck in the ocean, and the animals that we eat those fish, we eventually end up consuming those very microplastics. So climate change not only occurs by what we do, but it also occurs naturally. We call this greenhouse gases. Our factories that we use to produce our products and even export and import products have a byproduct of greenhouse gases. And whereas greenhouse gases are needed to keep our little green environment a little bit greener as they trap heat on the surface of the earth, if we have too much of those greenhouse gases, then we trap too much heat on Earth's surface. And this leads to what you've probably heard of as global warming. Now, one common misconception of global warming is that it's cold outside, so how's the globe actually warming up? But the important thing to know is that just because it's called global warming doesn't necessarily mean that the globe is going to automatically get hotter. It means that it will lead to more fluctuations in our actual weather until we reach a point at which our ozone layer is damaged and the sun will break through. Because the only reason why we get a little bit sunburnt in the sun but don't actually sizzle to death is because of our ozone layer that protects our skin from being pierced by the sun's UV radiation. However, once that ozone layer, that protective barrier, is broken through, then that sun directly hits our skin, which means that it can lead to detrimental effects for everyone on Earth. So, in order to prevent all the byproducts of climate change, such as global warming and as we've seen the countless videos of the little glaciers in the north melting, what we need to do is to learn and look back on goal number 13 and goal number 15. Goal number 13, as set by the United Nations, is climate action. It demands that everybody, including you and me, takes immediate action. And goal number 15, life on land. It means that we'll work to preserve the very life that we have on Earth. And this may include humans, as well as our plants and animals. Because whereas humans get all the good consequences of these productions, animals and plants don't get those good benefits. Because animals don't really use cell phones, animals don't really use plastic, and animals definitely don't eat packaged foods. So what do they get? Well, they get the remnants of that very plastic. They get the remnants of that very microplastics. They get the effects of our ozone layer being broken through. And same for our plants. Because the more that we let our plants decay with pollution and bad air quality produced by our factories, those plants will also continue to die. And not only are we cutting down trees every single day to produce paper, we're also slowly killing our environment one by one, including our living, breathing life on land. So maybe climate change isn't just about what we're doing to a planet called Earth, it's about what we're doing to our animals and plants. So in order to help us overcome climate change, even as whatever our audience may be, young kids, ages over 5, or even young adults, teenagers, we can actually move to make a change. And it starts with awareness, which is the first chapter that EloEllie is opening with the SDG book club. And the reason why I've been speaking here for over 10 minutes today is to teach you and raise awareness about climate change. And hopefully, in my next video, you'll be able to learn a little bit more about exactly what we can do and what books and references that we can turn to help mitigate the effects